Welcome to 247 Real Talk. I'm your host, Julian Perry, and it's a pleasure to be here with you once again for another episode of the 247 Real Talk podcast. I hope you've had a good week. I've had a decent week so far. It's vacation time, and so a lot of the people who have been providing those stresses at work that I've been sharing with you are on vacation, and it's remarkable, that I feel the relief, but then it's even more remarkable when every other person I speak with in a large organization of, 1,100 people in my division, every other person I speak with feels the same way. I hope you guys had a good week. I continue to heal. It's not the same as when I had physical therapy, but it's getting there. I put in my own work, a recumbent bike and stretches. And I was at the surgeon yesterday, and tentatively the next surgery on my knee will be around the first week of October. That's the left knee. So it's about time that I stop having knee pain altogether. And so, the recovery is a struggle, but I have to do what I have to do. Again, hope you guys are enjoying the weather. It's already going into the second week of August, and before you know it, we'll be talking about fall and Christmas. So make the best of the summer. I know I am, and sit back, relax, and I'll be right back so we can have a little chat. So I'm back, again, still getting used to dealing with the controls to my side, although I think I'm going to leave them there because for all the other types of recordings I do in this studio, it works, and I promised you a little bit later on when things are kind of straightened up on my desk and they don't look so crazy, that I will, pan one of the overhead cameras over there and switch so you can kind of see what the desk setup looks like, how much equipment is actually on here, just for me to process this. I wish I had it plugged in because I would have switched right now so you could see a bit of what goes on. But I'll do it another night. That's a promise. It's Thursday, August 7th. I usually record on Wednesdays, but once again I'm late today. Very busy at work trying to stand up a system, so. Worked pretty late yesterday, worked late today too. And then I can tell you that, with the pivot of the podcast to doing more, empowerment episodes and helping each other and not allowing the essence of who I am and what my purpose to be soiled or contaminated by the political atmosphere. It's not as easy to come up with topics that at least for me, that I feel are very impactful. I do have a few people who are constantly supporting me and constantly communicating to me. And some of them, I've got my good friend Matanya, and then some of them are family. They may not want me to mention their name, but I have one in Atlanta, and I think one is where is she? Maryland. The one in Maryland, a shout out to my cousin. She knows who she is. Constantly sends me daily uplifting messages that's spiritually fulfilling for me. And I just realized something. So my cousin in Maryland is on my mother's side, God rest her soul, my mom. And my cousin in Atlanta is on my father's side. My father's still alive, 93 and going strong. But both my cousin in Maryland and the cousin in Atlanta, both of them, their name is Marilyn. So they can remain anonymous because nobody knows which Marilyn I'm talking about. That's a hell of a coincidence. But I'm appreciative of both of you I love you both, and thank you so much for your support and for many years growing up and then going through things in my adulthood and watching how parts of my family that were close knit sort of fell apart, and then parts of my family that were far apart or unknown came closer together. It's sort of a change, and as I've grown older, I've learned to cherish the relationships that that are that invest in me and I invest in them. Let's put it that way. So when I think about what I was going to record yesterday, I had my mind on it today. And every day my pastor from Monday through Saturday sends me, and he sends many people in his congregation a biblical passage and some sort of word for the day that inspires. And the one for today became my inspiration for this episode. And it said, it's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting. Think about that for a second. It's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting. If you really take the time to digest that, it's very on the level with faith. It's very on the level of believing that you can do all things. As we pursue goals, many times goals that sometimes we feel as we're running towards them, they're running away from us, or we're either not closing the gap or we're closing it very slowly. The whole interest of life is purpose. It's the possibility of a dream coming true. It's the possibility that gives us purpose that makes life interesting. And why is this relevant for this episode? Because as I continuously talk about what we need to do for ourselves and each other to make sure we survive what's going on in our world, it's the possibility that the day will come when all that's wrong will be fixed, or at least the possibility that things that are going wrong will stop going wrong, the possibility that we will have an environment around us that looks like progress rather than regression. And the effort we put behind that gives us purpose. That not only makes our future and the future for future generations, but that's the interest of life. You know, the worst thing I think can happen to anyone is that they become so complacent that they go through life without purpose. I'll give you, I'll use my friend Motanya as an example. I can use him because he's been on the show probably 3 times, including a video episode where so you've seen him on the show. And if you didn't miss that episode, just go look through the channel, you'll see the episode. He never ceases to amaze me. Apart from the fact that he's an activist, that his parents were activists, apart from the fact that every so often he pops up with a photo of him, of someone from Martin Luther King or, all these people. He lives a purpose. Recently, since he retired, I guess over the last 2 years, he's made multiple trips to Africa. And I love to see the photos and videos he sends back, because not only do I live vicariously through him, but it paints the real picture of Africa. Me, just like many other people, I bought into the mindset, the media, the twisting of the minds that kind of painted a picture of Africa being a place of poverty for many years. The photos and videos that Matanya sent back make Africa look like a place that the whole world will want to live. It is gorgeous. It is well developed. From the night spots, the eateries, the supermarket, the malls, the beaches, the tourism, it is amazing. And yet still, they have preserved those places that represent and keep the historical value of what people of color, black people, went through. It is amazing. I'm not a big traveler. But I wouldn't mind one day being able to set my feet on that soil and visit some of the places he has. It's the possibility. His possibility, his drive, his purpose that made his dream come true. And I know for him he has bigger dreams. I know one of the dreams he said to one time that he's contemplated moving and going to live there. And I can understand why. You know, as I think about the pressures that we have in life, as I think about the daily struggles of those of us who are trying to navigate this crazy atmosphere that we're in, I think about what I just said to you. That my thought or my impression of Africa until my eyes were open was this place of poverty where people ran around with their stomachs sinking in because they were hungry and laying on the ground. Because guess what? That is what they show. Do you know how much money has been gained, how much money has been spent painting that picture? Remember that song you used to hear on TV? I haven't seen it recently, but they use it for dogs now. They use it for the ASPCA now. But there was a time when every channel was blanketed with in the eyes of an angel. Remember that song? And you were seeing black kids that were hungry. And if you give how many dollars a day, you can feed a hungry kid. I haven't seen them recently, and I'm not sure if that is because some more parts of the world have become more conscious that the picture that's being sold is not for the benefit of those children that are being shown that picture, but for the greed grab of the people who are perpetrating that kind of fraud on that part of the world. It is because of my part, that's part of my duty as a podcaster, to research everything much deeper than the surface, that I began to realize, and I'm more in touch with the fact that we live the lives we do, and we live a lot of the struggles we do because we have been indoctrinated by media, by false stories that we are told, by songs that play sadly and sad music and tug at your heartstrings and pull you to one side or the other. And soon enough you start to believe what you watch on TV and what you hear in the news. And it is so designed that we can't even believe it together, because it is so designed to divide us. If you are caught up in one ideology, that ideology is designed to make you addicted. If you're caught up on the opposite, the same thing. And before you know it, we are two opposing forces hating each other, not sure why, never paying attention to the catalyst, never paying attention to the cause, never taking the moment to recognize that we are not even voluntarily this way. We have been brainwashed into this way. We have been controlled into this way. We are one people, from one God, one Creator. I often say to people, when the day comes and we leave here, there is no differentiation. If we leave here, we lay in a tomb or wherever we're buried or we are cremated, there's no difference between us unless somebody decides to grab our remains and do a DNA test. They wouldn't be able to tell who was black, white, European, Greek. They wouldn't be able to tell. Gender even. We come from the same, we're going back to the same. The only difference between us is the one that we create while we're here. And I'm saying this to tell you that we live in a time where there's so many pressures coming towards us that it impacts our life, our livelihood, our ability to be happy, to be stress-free, our ability to live the life we want, our ability to believe in our dream that we can achieve that life. And as this nation and the world becomes more and more polarized and goes towards to what I call revelation, but towards that direction where the world becomes divided and it's tumbling towards a conflict of of the like you've never seen before. People around the world are choosing sides. And all they're doing by choosing sides are impacting your dreams and your possibilities. The only ones who can make sure we preserve who we are and the true, as Matanya would say, inner peace that we should have is us. And the more support we have from each other, the more we can stand together, the more we can preserve the goodness and the possibilities of our dreams, because we're not allowing those divisive forces to shatter. I look at friends, I look at co-workers. I sit in teams meetings at work and I study people's faces. They're all stress-filled. Recently because of the issues on my job, but even when I have meetings with people external of my job, I remember the days when we used to talk and laugh and couldn't stop laughing. Now I see faces that are stressed and filled with distractions, and when a joke is made, they laugh, but for a split second, and return to their previous form. We've allowed our lives to be engulfed by so much acceptance of all things that are wrong. So much belief that they can never get better. So much lack of belief in our own dreams and our own possibilities that we are consumed by it. That laughter is no longer a continuous part of our lives, our daily lives, our existence. Laughter is a significant pinpoint moment in between all the other chaos in our lives. Every week I try to reach out to more and more people, because if we understand who we are, if we understand whose we are, if we understand that no matter what goes on around us, we do and we can control who we are from inside out. If we understand that the more of us who recognize each other as humans, the less divisiveness they become, the less controlled we are. It is a tough time. But in this great nation of ours, and in this world that we've been given that provides for us, we have an inherent responsibility to not let the distractions disform or deform us, so that we're no longer recognizable to ourselves in the mirror. We have a responsibility to fight hard to remain as pure to the design of our Creator, in the form He designed us, and then turn around and look at our friend or neighbor or family or whatever and lift them so they too can become a part of something better. I told you guys a few weeks ago about those stresses at work and the fact that one of our own is relishing in the power given to them, and even more so in the pain they inflict, in the distress they inflict, in the threats that they send out there that make people conform. Power is so deceiving. I was watching a political rally earlier this week in a country in South America. There's been a lot of turmoil. I'm not going to call the country's name, but those of you who know it, know it. There's a lot of turmoil there. And this gentleman was standing with a mic on a street corner with a crowd gathered around him. And he was standing there accusing the other party of something. I'm not sure whether it's false or true. Most of these people, these things are not true. Politics is a dirty game. But here he is, not campaigning, and I want to be careful because it's a sad story. But the point I'm trying to make is, he was bitterly accusing and trying to convince the people around him how horrible the opposing party is. And he talked about them stealing money. And within a minute and a half of the video, he kind of paused and started and went from a standing position flat down on the ground, dead. He had a heart attack and dropped dead in the middle of that speech. What was ironic to me about it, and again, if anybody watches this and they were related or whatever, my condolences. Anybody who loses a loved one, it hurts no matter what they were doing, what they were opposing, or whatever. Even someone who says a family member who's a murderer, if they die, they are in pain for the loss of that person and their family. But the point I'm making is, what kind of usefulness was going on in our lives at the time we ended our life? If we were able to look back right before we leave this earth, how many of us would look back and say we were satisfied with our actions the moment we left? How many of us would look back with regret? How many of us would wish that we didn't focus on money and greed and power? How many of us would wish we didn't focus on hatred and prejudice and oppression? How many of us would look back and say, I lived a good life. I'm thankful for the opportunities I had to lift someone else and to rise together. This time we live in is the most trying of all generations because that's the progression of the world. We have to decide whether we're going to just go with the tide or whether we're going to stand and push back and lift and build a wall of goodness that allows us and the generations to come to still have a fighting chance at this whole thing called life. And the reason our Creator made us who we are. We're going to talk some more. We're going to bond some more. I'm going to share more stories with you, and I have many more. Things that will cause you to ponder and look in the mirror and look at your own lives. But looking is not enough. I challenge you to make a difference. To do what we do even in my circle, to send a positive word to someone every day. Pick 5 people you know. And if you don't have it, go on Google and search for today's positive word. Use AI, you'll find something. Something uplifting. And then think about how many people you know that you're in contact with who could use that word and send it to them. And then make it a habit. I'm thinking about a friend of mine that I met on the Long Island Railroad by chance. And as I was thinking the other day, I recognized that I have been sending them a prayer every Monday through Saturday for almost 30 years nonstop. And I spoke to that person the other day. They don't live in the East Coast. They live in Florida. They live on the East Coast, but they don't live in New York. They live in Florida. And we laughed about them and were amazed by the fact that I take the time every day and send them this prayer. They've gone through their challenges in life, and I have. And they don't send me back a prayer. That's not the deal. The deal here is that I feel the joy of sharing something that will uplift someone. And on their end, they've become used to being uplifted. It's mutually beneficial, even though I'm sending and they're receiving. Because together that closes the loop. I am able to give. And because I'm able to give of myself, I receive the other way. It's almost like you give out goodness and you make space for more to come into your life. And when you give it to someone, they receive it. And no matter what's going on in their life, that positivity lifts them. And while they don't send back to me, they take that goodness and they take it out into the world and they share it with someone else. That's where the differences are made. That's where someone comes home and tells you a story of their day, that they were stuck at the side of the road, that it was raining, that their car had a flat tire, that they were late for the biggest interview of their life, that they were in tears because it was almost time, and out of nowhere someone appeared and changed their tire. And then they went back to their car to take out some money to give the person a tip, and they looked around and the person was gone. The person came because the goodness of them sent them there. And it was their duty when they drove off on the side of the road and made that interview to pay it forward. We're going to talk about the real essence of who we are. We're going to continue to have conversations of goodness and righteousness so that those of us who seek it and those of us who recognize it can embrace it, can grow from it, then we can share it. If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And we're not falling in the ashes and the destruction of what this world looks like. We will still rise if we choose to stand together and make a difference in the lives of each other. Take that with you. Pick one person if you don't know 5, and decide that every single day you're going to make a positive difference in that person's life. And remember, do not forget to dream, because as impossible as it seems, it makes life interesting. And I'm here to tell you, when you dream, dreams do come true. Until the next time, take care of yourselves and each other.